Separate Ways has to be the best DLC I've ever played. And no, it's not for the reasons you're thinking of, you degenerates. No, I'm talking about the action, the missing features like the drill room and the U3 from the first game, and the setup for a Resident Evil 5 remake. I couldn't have been more impressed with Separate Ways, and when I finally got to the end of it, I couldn't help but wonder if I could do it again while only using Ada's favorite weapon. Could I upgrade the TMP enough to be viable throughout the entire challenge? Would I be able to manipulate the game to give me the ammo I needed, or would I be bombarded with endless cash drops? And would all of this even be possible while playing on professional difficulty? Let's find out. Wait. Before we go any further, let me see that browser you got there. Oh my god, it's not Opera GX? Are you insane? In my opinion, there is no better browser than Opera GX. It does everything the other browsers do, but better, so let me go ahead and show you why I love it so much. First off, the performance enhancement for gaming alone makes this browser worth using. Let's say you're playing a pretty resource-intensive game like Resident Evil 4, but you also have a bunch of tabs open that you don't want to lose. Instead of closing everything or bookmarking your 50 tabs, all you have to do is go over to the GX control, switch on the RAM or CPU limiter, and boom, the browser is suddenly freeing up a bunch of resources for you. The network limiter is also great if you don't want to use up too much data while browsing online. Then, we've got the highly customizable GX mods section, which is just pure eye candy. Look, here's my browser before using GX mods, and then here's my browser after. As you can see, I went for the horror theme, and just listen to it, boys. Each mod has a certain theme, keyboard and tab sound effects, and even cool filters like the one you're seeing off to the sides. Everything is totally customizable, so let's say you don't like the filter or sound effects, boom, turned off and you're still left with the cool background. There's tons of mods to choose from on the Opera GX store, completely free by the way, and they're super easy to switch out. And look, I even found an animated God of War one and a Mario one. Pretty cool. There's also an option to switch your Discord background in the mod store if you're into that. The switch from other browsers to Opera GX is incredibly easy. All you have to do is use my link in the description or pinned comment down below, install the browser, and then if you want all of your search history, bookmarks, and passwords transferred to Opera GX, you go to Browser Settings, Synchronization, Import Bookmarks and Settings, and she's ready to go. Opera GX is completely free, it massively supports me when you download it, and it doesn't mess with or delete your other browsers in any way, so there's no reason not to try it out. Thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. So, jumping straight into it, I was greeted with a heart-stopping dance recital from my man Lewis. It was impressive, but it wasn't enough to persuade the bad guys to let him go free. Lewis squared up, prepared to defend his life, but before he was able to throw his first punch, a masked hero came out of nowhere and saved the day. And that masked hero was me. At this point, I had no idea what the hell was happening, and really, I didn't have time to question it. Wesker wanted his little amber vial, and I was the only person who could get it for him. Why did he want it? Well, obviously, it was for
complete global saturation.
I have some good news and some bad news here. The good news is, I started off with the TMP, so I didn't have to worry about failing the challenge immediately. Now, on to the bad news. Instead of the first enemy being a cute little old man like what Leon had to deal with, I was going up against that.
Well, you can't do this to me. I started this company.
Seeing this, Lewis flew out of there, leaving me completely defenseless. I mean, I didn't blame the guy, but still, it would have been nice to have some help, you know? With only 80 rounds of TMP ammo and a prayer to the Lord himself, I began the battle. The first thing I did was to try and loot the room before things got too crazy. Yes, my fate would totally be up to the RNG gods, but I didn't really have a choice. So, after doing some looting and gaining an extra 50 bullets, I had a brilliant idea. What if, instead of fighting, I ran around the room like an idiot until the invisible timer ran out? Well, that idea was a load of dirty barnacles. Newsflash, the room wasn't timed, and I was forced to fight the guy whether I wanted to or not. And to make things even worse, the guy created clones of himself, so I was stuck playing a deadly game of Where's Waldo. I thought long and hard about what to do here. Who was who? Where was my boy at? Was there a way to tell? And that was when it happened. See, when normal clones attacked me, they were just kind of chill and didn't seem to care whether they hit me or not. But the big guy himself? His eyes would glow red and he'd make a terrifying noise. So, I began firing. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, and I did get hit a few times, but it seemed to be working out. At least until I ran out of ammo, and that was it. The challenge was already over. I was literally still standing on the starting line and I already had to throw in the towel. Or did I? After a few more failed attempts, I decided to do something despicable. I used a trainer. Not to cheat or anything, but just to see how close I was getting to beating the guy. So I turned on his health bar, went to town again, and quickly came to realize that I was getting his health that low. I can't even begin to describe how painful that was. I mean, I was just barely failing the challenge. Was there anything I could do about that? My mind opened up. The knowledge of the Lord himself was transferred and absorbed into my brain, and I swear to you, I saw the light. Headshot. What I was doing was unloading everything into the guy's chest, but what if, instead, I shot him in the face. That had to do more damage, right? So, because the guy was so quick, I lowered his speed, took aim, and tested it out. Each shot to the face did about 20 damage, while each shot to his body did about 10 to 16 damage. It was a small difference, but a small difference was all I needed. Just to be safe, I finished the fight with him in slow motion, and look, I actually did it. This was good news and bad news. Good news because it was technically possible to win. Bad news because I'd have to have the aim of a god to only hit headshots while the guy was going at top speed. Still, I fought. I tried over and over and over again. I learned his moves, I took careful aim, and finally, after lots of pain and agony, I was able to do it. As happy as I was, the challenge was only now beginning. Thankfully, the castle itself was pretty simple to escape from. All I did was stealth my way through it as I grabbed some loot along the way. Chapter 1 was behind me, and it was time to invade the village. My strategy at this point was simple: avoid anyone I didn't have to fight. Ammo was a precious commodity, and there were a lot of bosses to come. I couldn't spare a single drop. I ran, I dodged, I looted, I even cried a little, but I kept moving forward. Things were looking good, and I didn't struggle too hard. At least until I got to the village center. It was time to have yet another boss battle, so soon after barely scraping by the first. And to top it all off, my boy got that supreme triple upgrade with his 6,000 health. Yeah, there was no way I was getting through the fight this time. But let's back it up a bit. Before getting to the center of the village, I actually had myself a little meeting with the merchant, and my man hooked me up. I was able to sell everything I didn't need, which ended up giving me a bunch of extra money, and I put everything into the TMP. The stock massively improved its aim, the damage was able to be cranked up twice, and because I was able to save all the ammo I had picked up along my travels, I now had 219 bullets to work with, plus whatever was in the village arena. Oh yeah, things were looking good, buddy. I ran back to the arena full of confidence and took those boys out with the grace of a small deer. After having such a tough and uncertain start, it looked like things were finally starting to go my way. Apparently, things weren't going Leon's way though, because the Big Cheese was about to run a big train on him. Not wanting to see that, I stepped in and saved him. Unfortunately, this meant that the cheese was out for my ass now, but after seeing how happy Leon was to escape alive, I knew I'd made the right choice. Remember how I saved Lewis in the beginning? Well, the reason I did that was because he knew where the amber was, and my whole mission here was to retrieve that for Wesker. That was all well and dandy, but upon reading a note in that house, I found out that Lewis had been kidnapped again and was being holed up in the nearby factory. Really, dude? Making my way out the door, holy sh- The cheese was clearly still pissed that I stole away his tender moment with Leon, and in his place, he wanted me. I ran, avoiding villagers along the way and zipping over obstacles with my grappling hook. I was somehow able to escape and found myself at the abandoned factory. Sadly, I wasn't able to find Lewis there. Before I could figure out what happened to him, I got a call from the man himself, and he told me that he'd meet up with me at the windmill. So okay, I escaped the factory pretty easily, upgraded my TMP's power as far as it would go, and then I passed out from the infection the big guy gave me earlier. I woke up a few hours later in the cheese's bedroom and nearly had a damn heart attack. Did he do what I think he did to me? Before I could start freaking out, a sexy jazz number played in the background and Wesker debriefed me on the situation. Apparently, he had saved me from a group of villagers and he told me that time was of the essence. Why? Well, because it was almost time for his
Complete saturation. Global.
I told him that I wasn't going to let him down, and I made my way to the windmill. At this point, I had well over 350 rounds of TMP ammo, and I'm not going to lie, I was feeling pretty invincible. Though, like always, it was time to fight a boss, and in this case, it was El Thick Boy. The fight itself was pretty simple. I was basically just jumping from rooftop to rooftop as the Thick Boy attacked me, trying my best to aim at his little worm whenever I could. I ended up using just over 300 shots on the guy, but hey, at least I was still alive. Right after that was when I met up with Lewis, and that little clown told me he had left the amber at the castle. Oh, I couldn't handle it, man. Back and forth, back and forth. The mission should have been over by now. So, following the knucklehead to the castle, the hunt for the amber began. Before we could get too far though, Lewis stopped me. He could see I was infected, and luckily for me, he could make a temporary antidote. If I was willing to go on a bit of an Easter egg hunt, I could save myself. Okay, whatever. At this point, I was thinking everything would be fine. I had just had a boss fight and barely had any ammo left. The game was gonna be chill with me, right? The night room was up next, and I was so poor that I was basically begging on the streets for a handout. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dante, isn't 200 shots more than enough to get through it? Surely the knights aren't that strong. Oh, you precious, precious boy. How naive you are. Let me just lay my problems out for you, okay? Shooting at the knights was like trying to shoot a seizure victim. I had 6 of these boys to defeat, and I was being attacked from all angles by infinite crossbowers. Oh, and did I mention I only had 1 heal? Yeah, this room was hell. I failed again and again and again. each attempt worse than the last. I couldn't believe how trash I was at the game. My mind was at the breaking point and I simply didn't have enough ammo. I mean, I could always get to the last night, no problem, but anytime I tried taking the lad out, it just wasn't enough. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I pleaded and begged, nothing was working. So, yet again, I took drastic measures. See, the game gives you a certain % chance to make extra ammo when you craft it. It's a very small chance, but it's there. I warn you now. What I was ultimately forced to do was absolutely disgusting. I loaded back to the beginning of the castle, only saved when I got ammo or resources in loot boxes, kept reloading over and over again to get that extra TMP ammo, and by the time I got back to the night room, I had a whopping 400 shots to use, which was an extra 200 than I had before.
You could call it cheating, I call it strategy. Shit!
Those 200 shots were exactly what I needed to push through to the next area. I know it's not a noble solution, but it was the only solution I had. What are you gonna do, sue me? It was here I finally got the TMP fully upgraded. All that was left to do was to get the exclusive upgrade, and my god did I ever need it. The exclusive upgrade would boost the TMP's damage by an extra 50%, which was absolutely insane. I went ahead and used up some of my spinels to get a key, opened up a cupboard, grabbed the jeweled necklace from it, filled that baby to the brim, and boom, I now had enough for the upgrade. The TMP was fully upgraded, and I was ready to take on the world. I continued making my way through the castle, taking out enemies here and there, gathering supplies where I could, until eventually I caught up with Lewis again. He was able to give me the temporary cure, but before we could team up to find the amber, the big guy showed up for the 3rd time and we were forced to split up.
Look at this devious ASF walk. He's a straight menace.
I was able to escape from the guy, and this ultimately brought me to the sewers. I took out some low-level enemies, made my way over to the merchant, sold a bunch of treasure, bought the cute bear charm which lowered the gunpowder requirement for making TMP ammo, bought the striker charm which increased my run speed by 8%, and finally, I found myself just a few feet from the U3 boss fight. With all the loot before the boss room, I was able to get my ammo count up past 600. I grappled over to the next area, the big guy relentlessly attacked me, and we both ended up falling down to the platform below. The bridge we were on crushed him, which sounds good, but all it really did was transform him into a terrifying abomination. Would I be able to beat the guy, or did the challenge truly end here? The battle began, and I went all out. My aim had improved a lot since the beginning of the challenge, and that exclusive upgrade was helping me out a lot. Thankfully, the U3's moves were pretty simple to follow, meaning I didn't have to worry about my health too much. The fight went on with me completely dominating. When, out of nowhere, the U3 fell over defeated. I still had well over 400 bullets left, so I was in complete shock. But then I remembered, the guy had 2 phases. Of course he did. So, moving on to the next room, the battle continued to heat up. The U3 was now tunneling underground to get me with his sneak attacks, and when he surfaced, he was moving around like crazy, making it really hard to hit him. If that wasn't enough, bugs attacked me from the sky, and although they were a pain to deal with, they did give me a bunch of gunpowder. I attacked, I looted, I dodged, and then suddenly, it was over. Finally, after being stalked since the very beginning of the game, the U3 was defeated and I had a bunch of spare ammo for the military island. All that was left to do was to grab the amber, but there was a problem. Lewis had fought Krauser down in the sewers, and unfortunately, Krauser came out as the victor, stealing the amber from Lewis and booking it to the military island. I was sad to see my boy go, but at least he went out as a hero. Krauser was the next target on my hit list. Luckily, the castle had a boat conveniently waiting for me at the dock, but before I could get on, I heard something. Hey, it was Leon!
I've been going up 10 days straight. I ain't getting no rest cause I'm gonna win the main play.
We drove over to the island in awkward silence. I abandoned my sweet baby boy, and I was able to catch a glimpse of Krauser handing the amber off to Sadler. Yo, can we stop playing hot potato with the amber, please? I swear to God, man, I'm about to do something nasty. That was when Wesker ambushed me out of nowhere and told me that if I didn't get him the amber this time, he was gonna kill me. Wait a minute. Isn't Wesker like crazy powerful? So why the hell did he hire me to do this job and then proceed to follow me around like a little puppy the whole time instead of doing the job himself? Hello? Look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, okay? There's not a lot to talk about on the island. Most of the enemies I dealt with were small time, and even the regenerators were pretty easy to get past. What I was really concerned about was Sadler. When I first played through the DLC, I remember him having an extremely thick health bar and that the man nearly used up all the ammo I had. So, when I got to that room and began the final battle, I was feeling a little nervous. I had about 500 bullets to work with, and I was praying that that would be enough. Learning Sadler's moves was difficult. Before I had a chance to see if I had enough ammo for him, I was dying left and right. Still, I kept at it, unloading into his chest with everything I had. Things seemed to be going well, and Sadler was getting his ass handed to him. But then, my ammo went down to 200. then 100, and then I was completely out. My ammo was donezo, and Sadler was still going strong. My heart dropped. There was absolutely no way I had made it this far into the challenge just to fail, right? I mean, Sadler was the final boss. Was I screwed? No. There had to be something. I went back to my original strategy and turned on his health bar to see how far I was getting. When I did that, I was shocked to see that Sadler had 23,500 health. Jesus. For comparison, the first boss only had 2,100 health. I fought, and I fought, and I fought. And when I got to the end of my ammo stores, the guy's health wasn't even in the red. I became even more desperate. I slowed the guy down and began giving him headshots. I went at him hard, making sure I didn't miss a single bullet. Things were actually looking pretty good. And then, I ended up beating him. Still, that didn't mean I was in the clear. I only had 40 rounds left to spare, and that was with me hitting every single headshot along the way. Getting away with this while Sadler was at full speed was damn near impossible. So, to try to make my life easier, I reloaded back to an earlier save, and instead of killing every enemy in my way like I had been doing, I decided to try and run past them all. Every bullet was needed for Sadler, and I couldn't afford to waste a single one. I was able to make it back to the man with 700 shots in my inventory, and I pushed one final time, making sure to only go for headshots while also avoiding his deadly attacks. With how slowly I was shooting, the fight seemed to be going on forever, but that didn't matter to me. I was so close to the finish line, and I wasn't gonna give up now. Seconds turned into minutes, minutes turned into even more minutes, and then, through sheer power and determination, I finally did it. Sadler was defeated, and all that was left to do was to toss the red rocket launcher to Leon. You guys know how the rest goes. I snagged the amber from Leon and flew off into the sunset. Unfortunately for Wesker, I never planned on giving him the amber. He seemed upset that he wasn't able to go through with his
Saturation.
But you know what? That didn't matter to me. I had completed the challenge, and though there were a lot of times I thought I was gonna fail, I pulled through in the end. Guys, don't forget to check out Opera GX in the description and my pinned comment down below, okay? It's completely free and it does support me, so please do it. Thanks for watching, subscribe to me and click that bell, otherwise you pretty well aren't subscribed to me, and I'll see you boys in the next one.